Warm-hearted viewers, this is Start ANEW on his coming broadcasting network. The term Start ANEW is an acronym which stands for sunlight, temperance, air, rest, trust in God, alternative medicine, nutrition, exercise, and water. Today, we are honored to feature Dr. Samuel Dizon on our program.
Welcome to HTBN lecture on Start ANEW program. We are sharing with you some tips, some guidelines on alternative medicine and natural healing as we practice at our wellness centers in our place. Today we are going to be talking about cancer, how it can be prevented, and what are the things that one can use to at least minimize the risk of having cancer, especially for those with a family history of cancer. Now, at present, the medical attack for cancer is divided into three: surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. They also do a lot of other techniques like cryotherapy, which is being now one of the reasons why people go to China for treatment, radiofrequency ablations, and other procedures that the focus is to kill the tumor, kill the cancer. However, the thrust of alternative medicine is not only to try to destroy the cancer, but also to prevent further recurrence of the cancer, basically to treat the cause of the cancer. So knowing what causes cancer is very important in order not only for us to prevent this, but also to battle this disease. So the medical field actually is not winning their battle against cancer. More high-tech solutions are being developed, genetic research, but the problem is they are actually, some of them are more poisonous or more toxic than the disease itself. So in the conventional medicine, expense is paramount when it comes to treating cancer. In natural healing, there's a million ways of treating cancer. The purpose is to attack the cause of the tumor, destroy whatever may be the one that's causing the cancer, and chances are the patient's life is going to last longer. We are talking from experience because we have been at this practice since 1992. And with God's grace and help, we have been able to help patients who have been told by conventional medicine are incurable. We believe there is no such thing as hopeless cases. Maybe patients without hope, but as long as there's life and one has faith in God, nothing is impossible. So, in the research of a book in 1995, they found out cancer is on the rise. As early as 1930s, they only have less than 100,000 people developing cancer, but as time passed, it kept going up. This is kind of scary because we are now at 2014. And during the time of Kennedy, he was saying we have to win the battle against the cancer, and also President Nixon. But unfortunately, they're still losing the battle. In the United States, they see that out of 2 men, 1 will have cancer. Out of every 3 women, 1 will get cancer. Nowadays, out of 2 women, 1 will have breast cancer. So out of every 4 deaths before in the US, it's one of them is usually from cancer. It has gone up in the year 2000. Now, there are 2 ways of preventing cancer. One is know the 7 cancer warning signs. What are the signs that may give you warning about cancer? Number 2, undergo the appropriate screening test. Of course, there are other tests that we do in alternative medicine which are not included in this test, but this is a medical approach, so we'll be sharing with you some of the things. What are the 7 warning signs of cancer? Well, the acronym CAUTION is used, and if you'll notice, C, a change in bowel or bladder habits. That means maybe you're urinating a little bit too frequently. At night, you're urinating 3, 4, 5 times the whole night. Or today, you're constipated. Tomorrow, you're having loose bowel movement. This is a sign that something may be there. Something may be blocking or stimulating or irritating that area. A is a sore that will not heal. You have had that wound for months and months and months, and you've tried everything. You've done antibiotics. You've applied topical things and cream, but the sore, the wound just would not heal. U is unusual bleeding or discharge. So you cough and there's blood, or you urinate and there's blood, and you woke up in the morning and there's blood is coming out. That is something to be, that's a cause for alarm. T is thickening of a lump in the breast or elsewhere. So you have a lump, you notice it seems to be getting bigger. Indigestion or difficulty in swallowing, that means something is blocking, or something is, you're having a hard time digesting something. It could be a liver problem, it could be your gastric stomach problem, and an obvious change in a wart or mole. Now, when you have this mole and then it suddenly grew in a matter of 3 months or 1 month, 2 months, or in a wart, and you saw it got so big in a matter of months or even weeks, then that is again cause for alarm. Nagging cough or hoarseness, you keep having this cough. You've tried everything. It may be allergic cough, but sometimes it can be something that is irritating the vocal cords or the throat or the chest or the lungs, and then you're getting a hoarseness that is not a normal thing with you. That's CAUTION. Now, that doesn't mean that you have this, that means you have cancer, but it certainly pays to have a checkup with your physician to find out what may be the cause of that problem. The American Cancer Society recommends screening tests like a digital rectal exam for men, especially to find out if they have prostate cancer, stool exam, some blood microscopy, and for men, what we call PSA test. That's the prostate surface antigen, especially for men who are about more than 40 years old and and higher. The prostate can grow to an abnormal size, and sometimes or most of the time, cancer may be discovered through the blood test PSA. For women, the recommended exam would be a regular pap smear, pelvic exam, self-breast exam, especially a week before or a week after menstruation. A woman should know. Most of the time, patients would come to us and they didn't even notice the tumor in their breast. They don't seem to examine themselves. It's the husband that finds out that they have a lump on their breast. The woman, at least, have the lump on their breast. So physical exam or using your hands to check. Now, the recommendation of the American Cancer Society is mammography. We don't really recommend mammography. Findings shows that 78,000 people are getting cancer every year from simple x-rays, chest x-ray and dental x-rays. So we would rather suggest a breast exam and probably an ultrasound just to find out, because an ultrasound is less invasive, less toxic to the DNA of the cells than the x-rays, the mammography. We have another recommended thing that we use. We have the Dr. Manuel Navarro urine test. You can check your internet and see it. It's a very simple test. You collect your first morning urine, send it to his son, who is Dr. Efren Navarro. It will be in the internet. And from that, it can detect the presence of beta-HCG, which is present in all types of cancer. And when it's high and you're not pregnant, chances are somewhere in your body there is something going on. So check the internet about that. That's the Dr. Manuel Navarro urine test for cancer. As I said, we are into alternative medicine, so we will be approaching cancer in a different way than what conventional medical field says. So if you know and the cancer warning signs and undergo screening, will that be the best way to prevent cancer? Well, it will be a warning, at least a screening way, so you'd know, oh, I'm on my way to cancer, or somehow I may have the risk of cancer. But most cancer deaths are prevented before they even form to begin with. So how? First, you have to know what causes cancer. What are the things that damage the cells so that it becomes a bad cells? Because every day our body produces cells. And we are made up of 60 to 100 trillion cells, and our body keeps producing that. We produce on the average about 4,000 to 6,000 cancer cells every day. The body can get rid of it. But when the immune system is down and the body is already overloaded with so much carcinogens, then that's the time a tumor can appear. So a tumor is just the tip of the iceberg. You don't just attack the tumor. You change the condition that caused the tumor in the first place. It's like you keep removing the fruit, and yet the tree and the roots are still there. you will still keep getting the same thing. Well, once you know and avoid carcinogen, you should know also how to boost and maintain the immune system. So these are the basic way to fight it. So what are the things that can cause cancer? Preventive-wise, the National Cancer Institute, the Cancer Prevention and Control says that a diet full of fruits and vegetables has a protective effect against cancer. Their advice is the higher your fruit and vegetable intake, the less chance of getting different types of cancer. Another advice from the American Cancer Society and Surgeon General says that most cancers have an external cause, and the principle should be you can prevent them. They are preventable. Conclusion, therefore, for lowering cancer risk is that stop smoking and make common sense dietary changes. See, when the person develops cancer, it is because of a lifetime of abuse. Although some patients may have gotten cancer from exposure to radiation, and so they got it, but most of the time it is of a lifetime of wrong choices, a lifetime of habits that were not conducive to a healthy body. So when you get it, it will take time also to regain the health that you lost. But then you don't have time. When you have cancer, it goes very fast. It goes very far. So you have to do very fast and specific things in order to counteract the effect of a lifetime of wrong choices. No magic pill is going to reverse your cancer unless you do a complete and total overhaul. Dr. Louis Sullivan, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, says, research shows that a diet rich in fruits and vegetables, so again they are saying the same thing, has a protective and preventive effect against cancer. The food pyramid that we advise, the normal medical association would advise, would be more of the carbohydrates, fiber-rich carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables, and in the upper limit would be more of the protein, animal sources, and oil on the top. The vegetarian food pyramid, on the other hand, would do the same, but it's more the tofu and the protein-rich thing on the higher level, and on the top would be oil. And again, it says sparingly. So, number one, carcinogen. A cigarette, when you have not lighted it, contains about 1,000 poisonous substances when you have not even set it on fire. Once you set it on fire, it ranges from 4,000 to 6,000 toxic elements. And when you inhale them, in 3 seconds, it's all in your blood, all those chemicals. And out of that 4,000 to 6,000 toxic elements, 1,000 can cause cancer. There are 1,000 cancer-producing substances out of 4,000 until 6,000 poisonous substances. And if every day you inhale the cigarette, you're actually telling your body, I'm putting poison in because I want to kill you. See, every day you do that. One stick of cigarette can shorten your lifespan by about 6 minutes. So if you keep doing that every day from maybe 10 years until you're older and you develop cancer, you're just telling your body you want to die. When we try to treat the patient, we have to convince the body that it wants to live. So you put good things in, not put bad things in. Alcohol has also been linked, and it's not the leading cause of liver cancer. It's more of a leading cause of esophageal cancer. When you put something that irritates your cells and it damages them, your body will heal it. But if you keep putting that again and again, day in, day out, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, pretty soon the damage becomes so severe that cancer starts forming. So esophageal cancer. Now, most liver cancer are caused by hepatitis virus and liver cirrhosis. So most of the time, it's usually a viral infection. So as I said, alcohol causes 75% of esophageal cancer, 50% of mouth cancers, and laryngeal cancers. It's only 30% of liver cancers. Coffee use. I know that there are people saying, oh, you have antioxidants in coffee, it's good for you. Well, we use coffee for some procedures like coffee enema, which would be very good for cancer because it stimulates the liver to clean out toxins. And we do use coffee scrub to make the skin more hyper and stimulated. And sometimes medicinally you can use coffee for migraines. But as a rule, it has been found out that caffeine is a co-carcinogen. And it's been linked to cancers of the kidney, obviously because it goes through the kidney breast, colon, pancreas, and ovary. The food industry may say otherwise. Well, you know, maybe when cigarette was first coming in the market, they were saying cigarette is good for you. And people were smoking left and right because they thought it would heal them or they give them stronger energy and health. Of course, science proves them wrong. But you never know what's coming out there, because sometimes, if you will check, the food industry also owns the cancer industry. So there's a question about that. Chocolates has something called theobromine. It's been linked to prostate cancer. Now, I would say you could probably eat this occasionally, as long as you're protected with antioxidants and your diet is in the best vegetable and fruit range level. But if you already have all these other things and you have a very bad lifestyle, then that may be the last straw that will break the camel's back. Yeah. So occasional things, fine. But if you already have some health issues and you're really in terrible shape, maybe you better check what you put in your mouth. Okay, now when we were in med school, we are taught that heart disease, diabetes, cancer, these are all hereditary. So what can you do with destiny? So if your dad or your parents have cancer or heart disease or diabetes, then you're going to have it because it's your fate. Well, they found out it's not. When a study done on Japanese that moved to Hawaii, they look at the prevalence of certain types of cancer with the Japanese when they're in Japan and with the Japanese when they're in Hawaii. And then they showed it also as opposed to Americans in Hawaii, Caucasians in Hawaii. They found out that certain types of cancer like colon, rectum, rectal cancer, prostate, breast, ovary, lungs, and esophagus were lower in Japan compared to the Americans in Hawaii. Then when the Japanese went to Hawaii, they started getting the same number of cancers compared to the Americans. They checked that the stomach cancer, which is very high in Japanese culture in Japan, is lower when they moved to Hawaii. What happened? They changed their diet. The Japanese are very fond of raw fish. And we know as Christians there are some fish that should not be eaten because of the prevalence of toxic elements in the water that their scaleless skin are unable to protect. The Bible did say to us that there are some things that we're not supposed to eat. Certain fish, certain animals. And science are now proving that maybe God knew what he was talking about. So it's not genetics. There's only a 15% chance of genetics. Most of the time it's lifestyle. And then they found out countries that have more fat in their diet have more breast cancer death. So in the East, Asia, Japan, Thailand, they have more of the animal fats. And in countries like the United States, Canada, Australia, they have higher level of fatty meal. And so they end up with more breast cancers and more death. Same thing with prostate cancer. In Japan, all ages, they have not too many people having problems, but when they reach about more than 55 years old, prostate cancer's risk start going up. What does a low-fat diet does to a skin problem that can become a cancer later on? If your diet is low in fat, that skin cancer is not going to go forward to become, that skin lesion is not going to go forward to become cancer. But if your diet is high in fat, the skin will produce more tendency for skin cancer. Okay, that is why the fat should be sparing in our diet. It's not just breast cancer, it's also skin cancer. And we know that the ozone layer is getting thinner and thinner. For people whose diet is high in fat, they have a higher risk of skin cancer as the sun gets hotter compared to those whose diet is low in fat. And then they checked, and the US fat consumption is directly linked to problems with cancer. So what are the causes of saturated fat? These are the fat that really harms our cells. Whole milk has saturated fat, hamburger, cheese, well, of course, the oils that we use, these are all saturated fat. Even some yogurt have types of fat. And meat use. We have always shared with our cancer patient that if they have cancer, they had better stay away from the meat. We tell them, if you don't stay away from butchered food, you are going to get butchered by the doctor. Right? So it's mandatory that if you have cancer and it's tumor, it's operable, they would remove it. But when they remove something, they remove a big area so that you really look terrible after the surgery. But it's not the cure. It actually is only a temporary measure, because even if you remove that, the advice is to do chemotherapy and radiation, or whichever. If the cure was surgery, then why need to do chemo and radiation? And if chemo and radiation are effective, why need to do surgery? So actually, these are being done because that is the recommended protocol for cancer. But how many patients have you seen survive with these three modalities? You can count them on your fingers. It is most common that when they have survivors, they either have a really strong willpower and maybe they went into natural things and they follow the diet. Because the sad thing is, oncologists will tell patients, you can eat anything. As Christians, we better read our Bible. People are dying left and right of cancer, including doctors. So doctors do not know how to cure cancer. They don't even know how to keep people healthy. So they cannot fight it. You have to research and look for yourself. If the normal treatment for cancer, surgery, chemo, radiation, we will have been getting so many survivors because we are getting more and more high-tech. Of course, they're very expensive. But we have seen that there are other ways of doing things. The American and the Philippine style of medicine is fractured. If you go to China, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, India, Thailand, you go to Europe, the conventional medical doctors know how to treat cancer both medically and naturally. It's taught in the med school. But in the Philippines and the United States, we are tunnel vision. This is the only way to cook an egg. This is the only way to treat cancer. You know, there's a million ways of cooking an egg, right? But this is the only way we're taught. It's changing. Now about 160 medical schools in the US are including natural modalities in their curriculum. But it's a hard road. So they found out that people who eat meat more often are more at risk for cancer, breast cancer. People who are poor and not eating meat, not really eating meat that often, have a less chance of getting breast cancer. Is it just breast cancer? No, also colon cancer. The findings show that people who eat daily, maybe twice a day or 3 times a day, meat has a 149 chance of getting colon cancer sooner or later. And those who eat less than a month, you know, maybe every other month, have a 0%. This is the reason why our lolo and lola, our grandparents, they did not have cancer then. They die of old age because they eat meat maybe on feast days, maybe on weekends or so. And then they burn it off because they work hard. And then their diet is on polished rice, more on fish, more on vegetable. So it's a relatively healthy diet for them. What about the type of meat that is eaten? Red meat seems to leave residue in the intestinal tract that can cause cancer, especially if they use the processed meat like tocino and the hot dog and the other things that has something called salitre or and produces tryptophan, which is also a carcinogenic substance. And what about the cooking technique? Well, the more brown you make the meat, the more chance of getting cancer. So that's why there are people who will say, oh, I want it rarely done. You know? But then if it's rarely done, there the risk of parasites comes in. And especially if it's pork. Pork has about 60 plus parasites that could not be killed by fire. So in order for you to kill that, you have to turn it into charcoal. And again, there are parasites and certain microbes that could not even be destroyed, even if it's already in charcoal form. Well, for those who, you know, do a well-done cooking and then they use gravy, then there are higher risks of colon and rectal cancer. Okay. And then for those who love barbecue, a 2-pound steak is benzopyrene equivalent to 600 cigarettes. So that's too toxic for the system. If you want to eat your barbecue or something that you broil in the fire, maybe cover it with leaves if you want to, but aluminum is not good also. Aluminum is also being known to cause cancer. What about fish and eggs and milk? Well, if you get organically raised egg and milk, fine. But most of the eggs and milk we're getting nowadays are from animals that have been injected with hormones to produce milk, and chicken that have been given certain feeds in order to produce egg. These are estrogen-rich animal. And what happens is too much estrogen in the system has an effect on women and in men. I will not delve too much on that. Suffice it to say that in the United States, wherein the diet is very high in this kind of food, and we're told to drink milk to get calcium, kids are developing faster and earlier. 8 years old, 9 years old, they're already having puberty. And the effect of that is early menstruation, early sexual urge. So one young girl, age 13, who looks like a woman of 20, said in national television in the United States, she says, "I've slept with 100 men." They are already physically active sexually because there's that urge, there's that physical need, but mentally and emotionally unready. Imagine what the effect would be. Unwed mothers, teenage pregnancy, abortion, sexually transmitted diseases, broken homes. And then, about fish. For those raised in former farmland wherein they used to use DDT, which is now banned, but probably are still in the soil, then they are at risk because the fish will eat the plankton, the plants, the algae, and the algae had absorbed the DDT from the ground, and then we eat it, and then we end up with a problem. So it's a dangerous world we live in. Now, so what are some of the other findings? Well, vegetarians have less level of DDT. Of course, they probably get from the vegetable, but meat eaters have a higher, 99%. That's a too high level. And DDT is not healthy. You can check the internet about that. So what are some of the list of cancer-causing agents? Well, tobacco, alcohol, excess fat, viruses, coffee, excess sun exposure, certain metals, wood dust, excess sugar in the diet because it depresses the immune system and makes the blood acidic, and some of the other things that we're exposed to. What do you do? Let's say you know the carcinogens, you stay away from them. What do you do in order to combat disease? Immune system. Our body has a protector, and our system destroys invaders inside and outside. These are some of the things that can fight cancer. Beta-carotene and vitamin A. They reduce the risk of lung cancer, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancers, and different types of cancer. And they also use vitamin C. Findings that they've seen in research shows that they also protect the sperm from genetic damage. So if it's going to be an inherited trait, it can help protect cancers, the kidney, brain, and even leukemia in the newborn. When they did a study, they took rabbits and exposed them to radiation, ultraviolet light, for 24 weeks. One group of rabbit eating the normal vegetable diet were exposed, and another one were given extra vitamin C and vitamin E. After about 24 weeks, the rabbits that did not get extra vitamin C and vitamin E ended up with skin cancer. Okay. The ones that had vitamin C and vitamin E, they did not get skin cancer. See, we are so afraid of being out in the sun. We're so afraid, oh, we're going to get skin cancer and so on. If you have your adequate vitamin C and vitamin E, if your diet is low in fat, is rich in vegetables and fruits, you're not going to be afraid of skin cancer because you are being protected. And of course, there are more nutrients in vegetables and fruits than what you can get in a tablet or capsule form. When we treat patients with cancer, we do give things from the fruits and vegetable kingdom, but sometimes we add mega dosing because we're in a hurry to get results. But that doesn't mean just because you don't have the money to buy those mega doses that you cannot fight cancer. So there are top 10 antioxidant fruits. Okay, that means they have vitamin C, vitamin E, and so on. Strawberry, plum, but these are the American. So all fruits and all vegetables have antioxidants. And we are blessed that we're in a tropical area where they have a lot of things to use. Then the top 10 vegetables, and most of them we have here. Again, we have lots of vegetables that we can utilize. The malunggay, the ampalaya are very powerful anti-cancer things. I used to use palay grass, In the United States, they use wheatgrass and barley. What I used to do is I would have the patient plant palay in their pot, grow it to about 1 week old, they cut it and juice it or chew it, and they get, well, it's like barley or wheatgrass. But if you want to use wheatgrass, you can go to the bird shop, get their wheat berries, you know, the seeds that they use for the birds, and plant it, and it will grow to be wheatgrass. Then you can cut it and juice it. I think 1 kilo of that costs about 30 pesos. So there are phytochemicals that the body needs in order to fight cancer. These are all found in vegetables and fruits. Examples would be, well, we know about resveratrol, is usually in grapeseed. We know about beta-carotene from carrots. We know about lycopene from tomatoes. But for example, tomatoes have lycopene, which is one phytochemical that fights cancer. But tomatoes have 10,000 phytochemicals. So imagine, even if half of that fights cancer, tomato is a powerful weapon for fighting cancer. But most of the times, the herbs and vegetables that are anti these diseases taste yucky. And so it seems God is saying, do you want to live or do you want comfort? Because if you just want comfort, then you die easily, you know. But if you want to live, there's effort involved. So obesity also increases the risk of cancer, and people who are obese are more at risk for dying from the cancer. So in our experience, the thinner the patient, the better for us. Because then he's not going to clean up toxins that much. But if he's obese, before you shrink the tumor, the body will have to deal with the fats. So we have a hard time with the obese patients. But if they were thin, then when we detox them, we only have to worry about the tumor, not too much on subcutaneous fats. So it's a plus to be thin. Then if you eat more often, maybe if you eat 3 times a day, you have a higher rate of cancer if you're eating 4 or 5 times a day. You know, the meriendas, because your immune system is utilize enzymes to also fight disease and cancer. If you're eating too often, you're actually depleting your protective enzymes. Okay, so we will continue after some reminder, but we pray that you will continue watching because we believe that this will be a great blessing for you.
View the whole Start a New program starting with the opening interview with Dr. Samuel Thiessen, parts 1 and 2, and the closing interview. There are lectures on what is natural healing on Christianity, parts 1 and 2. God's marvelous self-healing body. Cancer, it can be prevented, parts 1 and 2. Alternative program for kidney disease. Diabetes. Whys and hows of detox. Learn about modalities used for healing such as body massage, hot stone massage, ventosa, charcoal pack, charcoal wrap, enema, and facial clay treatment. A video demo on how to prepare concoctions is also available. Watch the question and answer section recorded before a live audience. And enjoy the bonus sections on medical missionary work also recorded before a live audience. Thank you, and may God keep you in good health.